All right, if you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, let's get started. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amber is not here today, so I will be running the meeting. We can begin with any public comments not on an agenda topic. Lisa?
Because I know how hard it is to listen and write things at the same time. I'm giving you 5 of the notes that I'm talking about. So I'm going to discuss the meeting notes that I saw that I got from the meeting on 3/25, the work session last week. Looked at the Zoom, I wasn't here. When the board was speaking about West Neck Water and the expansion issue, which I had asked for consideration to be given to the town attorney 2 months ago. So we haven't heard anything today. I'd like to just go over some of the notes because there was information that perhaps you didn't have context for, information that is really misinformation. So bullet by bullet. The only ask that West Neck Water made to this board was for the attorney to review the management agreement with SQUA signed in 2022 for any language or clause that would restrict expansion. During the initial stages of planning, expansion was discussed with all of the participants, including the then sitting town board, to help defray the burden, the financial burden of customers who we already pay a premium for. So expansion has always been on the table. Positions and beliefs, which I hear at the meetings and various meetings that revolve around potable water. I believe it's driven by a fear of SQUA, that it is a large, unmanageable corporation. It's a public benefit corporation that's going to take water, drive up development. And so my question is, how do you substantiate this fear of overdevelopment if public water comes in? We hear it a lot. I would love to see some proof. Some written proof that these two are related, that one follows the other. Especially within the constraints of zoning. Is this a false belief that expansion or the development follows expansion or water, municipal water? Is this a false belief or is it based on fact? During the period of government information that we currently live in, it's hard to discern what is truth, what is misinformation, and disseminating wrong information and perpetuates rumors, perpetuates myths. So sometimes for political narratives to move along political narratives, sometimes for any one of a number of reasons. So I'd really like to get some truisms as to what is being discussed with regards to expansion, development, especially since we have a tight zoning code. The question of past expansion that came up and whether or not it was before or after the management agreement was signed with SQUA, I don't understand why that matters. Perhaps somebody can explain it to me, maybe not necessarily now, but if you please feel free to email me or get back to me on that, because it came up a couple of times at the meeting last week. Was this before or after the agreement with SQUA? Why does it matter when we expanded last? How does that make any difference? Expansion is expansion, whether it was with a SQUA agreement, because expansion is really dictated by Suffolk County Department of Health. I think that there's a sense that Suffolk County Water Authority is promoting expansion. They are not. We, the West Neck Water District, are trying to satisfy the request of people who want to get on the district, A, because they don't have potable water, or B, because in the long run, they feel it's more advantageous, more economical for them to have public water than to put in their own wells. So that, it's coming from us, it's not coming from Suffolk County Water Authority. So I really want to just get rid of that notion, if that's something we think that's where it's coming from. They're not the enemy. Expansion, bullet point number 4, is determined by supply and the ability to pump enough water to service an area. That is how expansion is determined. The calculation is decided by the Suffolk County Health Department. We could not expand because we didn't have the well capacity prior to the new wells being installed to service our own area, nevertheless add more people to it. And that came from the Suffolk County Health Department. One addition to the district that did occur in the mid-2000s, where we did have to expand the map, was granted because the customer threatened to take us to court. He was a lawyer. He said, if I cannot get on to the municipal water, to the West Neck Water District, I'm taking you to court. We capitulated, and we did so with the understanding from the Suffolk County Water Health Department. And then the beach bathrooms were put on because of the seasonality of the beach bathrooms. They're only open for 3 months. The draw was not going to be that great. And again, it was felt that we could support servicing water. It wasn't a shower, it wasn't a restaurant. It was pretty much a little hand sink, a couple little hand sinks, and a toilet. Couple toilets. So that is why they were permitted to come into West Neck Water District. We could facilitate supplying them. Again, when we were more or less forced, because we were forced by the then sitting town board, we were forced to be managed by Suffolk County Water Authority. The West Neck Water District did not voluntarily go to the Suffolk County Water Authority. I know that that's something that is believed, but that is not the case. We didn't have a water manager. He retired. By law, you have to have a manager at the pump house. You have to have somebody certified to manage a water system. We had no one. It would have meant shutting the water system down completely, because they'd have to. There was nobody there to take care of it. We were forced by the then sitting town board in 2021 to ask Suffolk County Water Authority to come in. That needs to be understood. We looked at the infrastructure price tag that we were told we were going to have to incur, and our discussions with the town talked about expanding the district as a potential for the future to defray the cost burden on customers who are already paying very high price for water. That was always the intent. Now, there was a comment made at the meeting about what an expansion would trigger. I don't know what that means. I think, Ben, maybe I heard it from you. And I wasn't real sure.
It's in context of reviewing the document. We don't know what's in the document. You've asked for a lawyer to review it. We're working on that. And when the lawyer reviews it, then we'll know what's in the document. And if there is any sort of trip or trigger in that document.
Okay, can I, so trigger to?
We don't know. We have to review the document.
Okay. Okay. The comment was also made about having a study done before the addition of these 3 to 4 customers. What would be studied? What does the board want to see studied? What are the perceived implications of expansion? Who would do the study? How much would it cost? I keep hearing about studies and hiring professionals. How much will that add to the town budget? because every professional you hire, you're talking lots of money. So this is just something that I hear a lot in meetings. We need study, we need outside professionals. So, okay, that's fine, but are you willing to pay the price for that? Going down to bullet point development. In the comp plan, it's stated that zoning power is the primary control for development of land. Is that still true? You've just gone through the comp plan. Is that still a true statement? There is a build-out potential for, as far as I could see from the comp plan, 153 lots, and 9% of the island is vacant. If any town board in the future downsizes and/or changes the zoning code, that is clearly out of control of you, myself, or anybody else. That's up to the people at that future time, should they decide to do so. It's in public's hands. Again, we hear the argument again and again that municipal water will contribute, if not promote, development. In the 28 years that I have been with the West Neck Water District, we have added 3 to 4 buildings on vacant lots, houses. And that's 1 every 7 years. I don't see a overdevelopment happening. I'm asking reasonable people to substantiate the claim that development will be facilitated by water here in a very highly regulated town. Please provide proof that this would be an eventuality and that it's not simply a buzz phrase or a scare tactic to get people to think a certain way. The wells. We have 2 new wells, 5A and 6A, that are taking the place of 5 and 6 that will be retired. These wells which can pump, I have a couple of different figures, 75 to 100 gallons a minute at full capacity. We don't need them to pump 100 gallons a minute right now. We are not at full capacity, which is why we are using the wells at half that capacity. We don't need it. When we get the whole of West Neck Water household people out in the summer months, when we get Sunset Beach online, when the restaurant Leon is completely, running at full capacity, then we're gonna need more water. But right now we don't. And that is why the wells are only operating at 50% capacity. As to the reliability, because this came up from someone in the audience, as to the reliability of full pumping capacity, I defer to Suffolk County Water Authority engineers to have constructed the wells to do their job. And I don't or could assume to know better than they do. I don't know, you don't know, none of us know. And we shouldn't forget that anything that could or may go wrong is on their dime to fix, not at an additional cost to the district. We don't pay additional costs for any more maintenance or repairs. It's all in our infrastructure fee. Squaw pumps a total of 70 billion gallons a year to approximately 1.2 million customers. And they and their employees know more than any of us, because they have hydrologists, engineers, laboratories, chemists. They have a whole body of professionals at their disposal to do the job. We don't. It would be absurd to assume that any one of us has the knowledge or the resources to match them. I'm saying that because there's a sense of distrust about Suffolk County Water Authority. I had this distrust when I entered into negotiations with them in 2021. I didn't trust them. I have since learned that was foolish. They were set up with the full blessing of the state to manage water for Suffolk County because there was a problem out here with potable water. If anybody remembers Grumman and the problem we had with that Air Force base and the contamination of wells. That's what they're there for. That's what they do. If we don't trust them, then we can say, well, we don't trust the Suffolk County Health Department. We don't trust the department, the DEC. So I think that the trust is implicit in this whole conversation. The next issue is the map. The map that's on the webpage, West Neck Water District, is correct. It is the correct map. Preceding maps were not what they were not correct for various reasons. The map that was part of the addendum item to the agreement with SQA when they submitted this all for discussion, that was an incomplete map. They didn't really know where a lot of the mains and the lines were when they inherited the system. We couldn't tell them because we didn't know either. Lines crossed properties. Some lines were total mystery. They couldn't really have an accurate map until they got in here, they got up and going, and they were able to see where the mains were. How the main goes from Stearns Point Road, where is it in the woods as it traverses private property and goes down to Sunset Beach. All of that was an unknown. So those maps were not accurate. It was only after they got the system and they figured out where everything was that we were able to submit a correct map, which is up there now. There are a couple of parcels in the district that are not connected to the map. They're still in the district, but they're not connected to the system because one of the residents had a well and opted out of connection, which was his right to do. He's not connected. There's no contamination. There's no cross-connection capability of contamination. He was grandfathered in, and that was allowed. We have another customer on the district that has an irrigation well that chooses not to have water go to the residents. So there are parcels where the main goes past, but they're not connected. All right, so that's a precedent. And there are also a few parcels that have more than one building on the lot. And all of those buildings are served by 1 meter, in some cases 2 or 3 meters. So when you look at the map, you can't say, okay, that's one parcel, so that's one customer. That may be one customer, but there may be a rental on that property, there may be 3 buildings on that property. So it has to be looked at not as a one-on-one kind of thing. And this is the system that we inherited. If the well fails, say for example, the property owner that opted not to connect to West Water back in 1997, if that property owner's well fails, he has to put in a new well, he's gonna have to get a permit. If he goes to Suffolk County Health Department for a permit, there's a very good chance that they will deny him that permit because he has public water going in front of his house. That's just, they want everybody on public water because they want to guarantee healthy water for all residents. They don't want people on private wells. It is not the healthiest option. Keep in mind that the district was not a perfect, neat little system when it was built in the 1970s. It was created by using garden hoses. It was created with lines crossing different people's property lines. There were no regulations there dictating these like we have now. So it was very hodgepodge, and it was very difficult to ascertain exactly where everything was. Over the 28 years that I've been on the board, on the West Neck Water District Board, I am proud of the work that we've done. Because essentially what we did is we took an antiquated maze of garden hoses and we made it into a municipal water district that serves people. Now, we had to because of the health department. We have agencies that oversee what we do, and they said, you have to comply. So we did. And this didn't come from any money from the town. All the town does is the town facilitates the ability for West Neck Water to go for bonding. We pay for everything, and we always have. And I'm proud that we have a municipal water system that is compliant with all state and county mandates. PFAS and nitrates. Every municipal water district has to comply with the maximum contamination level standards. They are set by the respective states. States govern their own standards if they are more stringent than the EPA standard. Ultimately, the EPA decides this is the standard for PFAS, this is the standard for nitrates, this is the standards for manganese. Then they allow the states to decide how are we going to enforce these standards, and perhaps we want to make them a little stringent. New York has been more proactive about the PFAS standards than other states have. Water districts are mandated to follow these MCLs. PFAS have been produced and used in this country for 80 years, really since the end of World War II. And the EPA has submitted advisories about them since 2016. Public water systems must monitor for these PFAS, and they have 3 years to comply with the initial monitoring, which is 2027, followed by ongoing compliance monitoring. Water systems must also provide the public with information on the levels of these PFAS in their drinking water beginning 2027. We have been monitoring and reporting PFAS in West Neck Water District since 2018. We're way ahead of the curve here. So that is always something that we've taken very seriously and acted on. Public water systems have 5 years, 2029, to implement solutions that reduce these PFAS if monitoring shows that drinking water levels exceed these MCLs. We just received reassurance at the last West Neck Water District meeting from Joe Picorni, Chief Executive Field Officer, okay, for those who aren't sure what his title is, that we would have the GAC, carbon filtration, in place sooner than 2029, sooner than 2027, very soon. He didn't give us a definitive time, but he made it clear that they are going to be working on that in the immediate future. Beginning in 5 years, 2029, public water systems that have PFAS in their water, which violates one or more of these MCLs, must take action to reduce the levels of PFAS in the drinking water and must provide notification to the public of the violation. Again, we will have the filtration in place sooner than 2029. My concern is public water and public wells don't have this compliance to adhere to. They will not have to comply with anything with regards to PFAS standards. Okay, so my concern is really not municipal water districts, we have to do this, but people who have private wells and are not mandated. We're getting the word out, there's more information generated, there's more interest in getting water tested, there's more talk about PFAS, so it's encouraging, because I think that we on the WAC have done a very good job of telling people, get your water tested. So people are finding out what's in their water, that there are contaminants in their water, they've been there a while. These are some of the things you can do. That's my concern, of those on private wells. The $500,000 grant. There was some questions about that. This was not factored in at the signing of the agreement with SQUA because they hadn't made an application yet. After the agreement was made, then they proceeded to make application and look for grants. At the time, in 2022, they didn't know what was out there. They didn't know what they could get for us. So they made an application to DASNY, and we received this $500,000 grant. There was discussion, I believe, in the meeting last Tuesday, how and when will this DASNY grant be applied to West Neck Water District? I asked Joe Picorni to respond to this, and he said, quote, "The electrical work is not yet complete," because that was another question. Is all the work done? Obviously it is not. But now that the ATS issue, and I think that the ATS has to do with the generator, I'm not sure of the acronym, has been resolved by Joe Fenora, it will be shortly. Once the work is completed, we will invoice DASNY. We have a finance person that is ready to do it as soon as we receive the final invoice. Once we get the $500,000 check from DASNY, this amount will be credited toward the capital amount of the surcharge, and a new surcharge will be calculated. I don't know if you recall, Amber last week was trying to explain there won't be any back end or front end calculation. It will simply go into the account of the surcharge. It will be deducted from the account that we have, the balance that we have. So we have two choices. We either decide to keep our rates the way they are and gradually draw down from our capital reserve, or pay off our capital or have to raise our rates by that much more when our capital reserve runs out. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Okay. My hope for all of this is that you have a broader context for the questions that you raised at the work session. I am still asking when and if an attorney will be reviewing the contract, the agreement with Suffolk County Water Authority. And Ben seems to indicate that, yes, that is underway.
I believe so.
And
Yes?
it's on Stephen's desk.
Okay. Because expansion, this is gonna come up again in the future. It's not a one and done deal. This will come up. I may not be here, you may not be here, but this will come up, so it's good to get some kind of decision now. So again, do we have the go-ahead for the customers asking for connection? I'm asking the board. What do we tell? I heard that the board has said yes. I, as the Western Water District Chair, didn't get any kind of notification, so I don't know if that's true or not, when that decision was made, who made it, so I will defer to Meg.
I don't think we came to a consensus because there are members of the board who want to hear from the attorney first. So until we get a response from the attorney, I don't know that we can give you a direction.
Okay, so we can't tell customers, you're okay.
At this point, I don't think so. Am I correct? Or-
I think,
I'm not necessarily sure about that, okay? I think where the attorney came in, well, it was given to the attorney back in January, okay? I'm not so sure that the attorney is the criteria. I think some of it, we need to know the legal parts of it, if there are some parts, but I think, as I recall, supervisor wanted to review the contract to see what was going on, and at that point, that's when it was really forwarded on to the attorney. I myself, I think that, I think there's some, I think the West Neck Water District is entitled to an answer, and I think that we could certainly give some influence or some direction to it, okay? But I'm not really fond of everything going through legal matters, okay? I think that, I think we have some say. That's why, let me put it that way.
So then let me reword the question. Are you in favor of the West Neck Water District expanding their boundaries to include new clients?
I am in favor, okay. I did have a meeting with Joe Fenora this week. We talked about some issues there relative to the expansion of it. I think there are only 3 people that are currently there. The one person that's inside the boundaries, I think that to me is a no-brainer. That should definitely, I don't know what.
They're already in the district. They don't need permission.
Okay, I know. Okay, I think that, I think there's some other things that I did speak to him for the first time about that I think do need to be addressed. But as a general rule, just looking at it at face value, I really don't see a whole lot of reasons why to hold it up. What I really would like to do is I'd like to get into a little bit more depth with Joe Fenora, okay?
I don't know, when I listened to the meeting that was back in December, and there was some comment from Joe Fenora and the supervisor and someone else at that committee, they said they talked about having a conversation. I don't know whether that conversation ever took place, and I don't know what it was about. It sort of left me a little bit up in the air, but if you go back to the tapes, you'll see there was a conversation, there was some comment there, but I
What
think
was the context of that?
that they wanted to discuss it offline,
What?
the whole West Neck Water
Expansion.
expansion.
Were they talking about the process of how you would go about expanding?
There was never a follow-up. I've never heard anything for it, and I really wasn't on the board at that particular time. But I think it comes down to really the board members. How are we feeling? I think they need, I think they should have some inkling. And, but I think I would like to continue with this conversation. And I think you're entitled to an answer. I think 3 months is a long time, okay? And I think this should be on our agenda every week until we resolve this issue. I don't think it's, I agree with you. I think it's a long
Okay.
time.
Can I clarify? This was a very simple ask, because it came up when we talked about expansion. There was concern that it wasn't, that there was some constraining language in the agreement with Suffolk County Water that would have obstructed the ability. I looked through the agreement, actually wrote the agreement, I know there is nothing in there. But and I went to Suffolk County Water Authority, I said, what is your read on this? What does your legal team say? Joe from Picorni said, your town board has to have some legal counsel on this as well. We could not see anything that would keep expansion from happening. So that it was very simple. If, Stephen Kiley was here, I would have said, Stephen, what do you think? And he would have gotten back to me immediately on an interpretation.
I'm sure he would.
But, that is one of my concerns, is that nobody in the town committees has access to legal counsel. Like, it could be any one of a number of things that we want an answer to, and we can't ask anybody about it. So that's why we came to you and said, would you please just very simply take the agreement, give it to your town attorney, and see if he finds any language that is an obstacle to expansion. It's a no-brainer. It's not hard. I don't know why it's taken 2 months to do this, really.
It's, I didn't realize, when there was a lot of conversation about the contract and being 7 pages, but then when I got the copy of it, it was 70 pages, the actual contract itself.
There's no 70-page contract.
Operating agreement with,
Maybe that's the operating
I
agreement?
think you're looking at something, yeah,
Okay.
we have a different
No, that's-
contract.
Okay, so, because one of the customers said to me, and I think you told that customer that they were good to go. So I was like, well, that's news to me. So that's why I'm, getting clear, definitive answers that we can all agree on is a little difficult. So we're saying right now, nobody has the go-ahead until the attorney comes back and consents and confirms that expansion is allowable according to the language of the agreement.
After the last
That's-
meeting, that was my understanding.
And that's all we asked
The
for.
board. So is that still the feeling?
I mean, you guys.
I mean,
can
I have
I
no
think-
problem with the expansion of the district.
I'm inclined to just have a discussion with the town attorney after he reviews the document. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all we were
I'm
asking.
inclined to support it, but I just want verification. That's all.
Okay,
I have no generic opposition to this. I just want all the information, and we don't have it. So as soon as we get it, we can sit down and have that conversation and come to a decision. I mean, yeah, we have a bit of a bottleneck with all the issues that we have on the table and on our plates, and the fact that we have an interim town attorney who is not full-time here. We're working to resolve that. In fact, we're interviewing people today.
Good.
But unfortunately, we have to ask for your patience at this point. And I'm not going to jump to a conclusion and a decision without all the information. It's just not going to happen, at least from this seat.
Okay, let me ask you this, Ben. Have you read through the agreement?
I read through the operating agreement and the agreement, but it was a year ago.
Okay,
So
so I think it would be good to just look through it again. It's not 70
I
pages.
will, when the lawyer is ready to sit down and have a conversation, believe me, I will go through it again before that conversation.
Yeah,
So I know,
That's
what
important.
so I know what I'm talking about when we have that conversation. But
and I think also, you know, and I understand you have a lot on your plate. I follow the meetings. I know what's coming at you. I get that. But I think the courtesy would have been a month after you got the email to get back to me and say, at this time, we are full. We can't address this now, but we will. It's on our plate. But having heard nothing, you know what that says? That says, you're not important. You people in West Neck, you're a pain in the butt. We're gonna put you right off. So you're taking your constituents and you're not giving them the respect of some kind of answer, some kind of confirmation that you're at least thinking about it. That's what is sort of an insult, okay?
I understand.
So, that is all I have, and do we have?
thank you for this information, it's helpful.
Yeah, and I would encourage you, please, at any time, have a conversation with me. If there's something in here that you find confusing or you don't agree with, have a conversation with me. I'm not gonna, you know, I will talk about what I know. And honestly, I think you can all agree, anybody who's been at something for 28 years might have a handle on things, might understand what's going on. Because some of you haven't, you know, been on, you don't know always what's going on because this is new to you.
Sure, I hope you don't take it personal. I don't think anybody was looking to be disrespectful. I'll just, at least, I can only speak for myself. I don't think there was any disrespect on this whole thing, so I hope you don't take it personal, okay? That's not the way I deal, and I don't think that's the way this town board deals, okay? I don't think there's anything personal here. Okay?
Well, I think, Gordon, what,
The delay, okay, I said this to initially, I said I can really understand, and I think you are deserving an answer, okay? And it will be shortly coming.
okay, I appreciate what you're saying, but that hasn't always been the opinion expressed by town board members. There's been a real sort of resistance to expansion. So the feeling that you get from that is, this is just, the town board doesn't seem, they're not responding to our request. One member is being, you know, very vocal about not even wanting to consider it. So therefore, maybe painting everybody with the same brush is not right. But there's a sense of, okay, they're obfuscating here on this issue. And so that's how we get our,
I've already put it on the agenda for next week, and we will try to come to a consensus by then for you.
thank you very much. And I love you. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Because we have people here who have business on town property applications, we'll skip the Ludeman, we'll put that as number 3 instead of. Does anyone else have public comment before we get to the applications? Thank you, Coco. In the audience?
I have a question about public property.
Okay.
All right, Patricia, what's your question?
I have a question about public property maintenance.
Okay.
So I'm Patricia Fulcard. I have a gallery in town. I came to Shelter Island 69, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I know you, Megan. Hi. And just to put it in context, and I just drove back again from California and I was in the fires. So I have been a little obsessed driving around. I've been back for 3 weeks with the lack of maintenance on public property of the invasive vines and the debris. And my question is, what's the plan? Because today's April 1st, and my understanding, my limited education about how difficult it is to deal with all this is, as it is April 1st, and I have to be honest, it looks horrific this year. What's the plan?
So Ken Lewis, the highway super, has been working, he has crews who have been working to clear the right-of-ways, clean the right-of-ways of the sides of the road. And then the CPF properties all have stewardship plans, so it depends on the stewardship plan as to how those properties are going to be
I'm
maintained.
sorry, what's the secret?
Community Preservation Fund,
Right,
so they've purchased land for
Right.
preservation and open space. So each one of those properties has a maintenance plan essentially, so it depends on what's in that stewardship plan as to how the properties get treated, when they're due to have vines removed. So it kind of depends on the parcel of the property. If there's a specific area that you have a question about, we can look it up and figure out what the plan is for that area,
well, on the preservation, but the town, who owns that?
the town.
So it's not happening. I mean, it's April 1st. My understanding is if you're going to deal with the maintenance, you deal with it during the winter. It's been very cold, so I would think that actually maybe is a good time. But I went all over Mildred's former property. I went all up and down Covitz Lane. It's like a breeding ground for a fire, breeding. And, you know, a lot of people, not a lot, I wish more had called me to ask me how I was during the fires and if I was okay. And to the point, as it got worse day by day, I said, the only analogy that I can think of to help you understand this is the island burns. Not the Dory, not the Cheekwood, not the IGA, but the island burns. And the only thing you can do is hopefully get in a boat or get in a ferry and get out. And if you think about that, if a lot of people drove to either of these ferries, no fire truck would ever be able to come to the island, which is exactly what happened in Malibu. They had to get a bulldozer the morning of the 8th because everybody was so panicked to get out of Malibu and out of the Palisades Road, which is a very long road where everybody was just no photographs, no nothing, the clothes you have on. So what happened were all these cars got to Sunset and PCH, and the fire trucks couldn't get off. So bulldozers had to come in like that and literally just push the cars to the side so that they could get up the hill. So the two things that California is criticized for, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter, is we built into the woods and we never maintained brush and debris. And it's not just the drought. Yeah, we had a 5-year drought, but I hiked in these places, oaks, debris, everything, because it got too big and too costly to maintain. So this morning I said to somebody, why are there no crews doing anything with these invasive? And he went, oh, too expensive. What's expensive is fire on this island. And I have been very involved with juveniles in jail for years. And I happened to watch one of the little film I made. And this guy who was trying to tell these kids, you know, shape up, he said, you spent your life saying 5 words. This will never happen to me. And all I can think of since I came back, this is a culture that says this will not happen here. So I'm not going to do a rant, but I kind of disagree with you. If there is a stewardship plan, it's April 1st. When is it happening? And if you own the land, how could you guys not know their plans or oversee their plans or some accountability? Covitz Lane is a major tourist road to Hay Beach. It looks like a debris war zone. And I'm not talking about, I have pictures. Can I post them on your website? Do you have a link?
What pictures of what?
Of the vines, of the lack of maintenance on this island right now.
I'll bring that.
I'm crazy.
No, I don't think you are. I'll bring it up to CPF and I'll ask them to prioritize the Covett area for maintenance.
Truthfully, I think it's beyond that. I think you need to think about controlled burns that Mashamek's doing. Because I'm a landscaper, so I'm not talking as a gallery owner or a person who lives in California. I'm a landscaper. What's happened is you've lost the ability to create access to these invasives because the amount of work it's gonna take just to clear some paths so that you can go in and do a little maintenance, it's a lot. But if you really think it through, it's labor and it's vehicles and it's, really having a plan of taking little pieces. But this is not like a little island problem. This is I can't even tell you what breeding ground it is for fire. And you have no idea what's gonna happen this fall in terms of repeating or even going deeper into a drought. You have so many trees that are down and they are right by the road. And my last question, who approved taking out the white oak on the corner of Cobbetts Lane and Overlook? It was one of your oldest trees, it was a landmark tree, and it went down last week. They closed the road and they came in and took it down. I have pictures of it 3 days before it went down. There was nothing sticking out on the road.
I believe that when that tree fell down or was in such a rotted condition that they had to take it down, but I'm not.
No, that's what I've heard, that was.
Yeah, and I think the person, the highway department would really have that answer.
Well, I have pictures of it 3 days before. It might be rotted inside, but it was definitely not in the road. But here's the great irony of that. I have a picture of that tree. Right behind it and right across the street is massive vines. So the tree went, but none of that went.
Can I just, I know I've heard you really talk a lot about this, okay, and having been on CPF, I can tell you that,
No, I know you are.
vines are, these invasives, they just grow like wildfire, okay? We used to have.
Fire's the key word there.
But we used to have a group that were called Vine Busters that came in, a
Right.
group of volunteers, okay?
Right.
And it's out of control because when we clear, it closes in. A lot of the preserved lands, when we open them up in the spring, and you got a 6 or an 8 foot path, okay, they close in because they keep growing. It's not an easy solution. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying to you that maybe with your passion with some of this, okay, perhaps what would work well is if you could perhaps get a group of people together. We have volunteers for everything, and obviously our town depends a lot on volunteers. Perhaps it's possible for you to bring a group of people together to help with these vines, particularly on preserved town land, okay? I'm just throwing it out as an
It's
example.
not a volunteer responsibility, it's a town.
I understand that. I understand.
But there's no budget for it, and it's not in the comprehensive plan. I understand what Tim and these guys are trying to do with clear cutting. That's even hard enough. But this is about making something that exists. When I came back in 2021, it didn't look like this. It looked bad. But beyond that, it's not my responsibility to volunteer to prevent the island from catching on fire. That's crazy.
Ken Lewis is on. He might be able to answer your question about the tree.
Okay.
Hi, yeah, so the tree, the big white oak on Cobbett was, we lost a very large piece of it a number of months ago that closed that road and came very close to taking out the 3-phase power line across the street. As a result, that tree, while it might look at the stump that you may see on the ground, may have looked like it's intact, it was rotted through about 7 or 8 feet up through the main part of the trunk of that tree. Last year, a few months back, when we had the one large leader that fell off of that tree, we cabled the rest of the tree together on the high side to hold it in place. And when we did the with the hope of always going to take it down afterward because it was a threat to fall again, we went up. When we took this part of the tree out, we had to take almost 2,000 pounds of branch material off of it because the cable was already under strain. So that next piece would have come down for certain and taken out the three-phase power across the street, which would have knocked out most of Hay Beach and Ram Island. So
No, I totally
safety
understand.
hazard. It was a safety hazard as well as a possible emergency hazard if it takes out the power lines.
No, I totally understand. It was ironic because Amber gave me, and actually Ken, you gave me the presentation that I think Friends of Trees did years ago, which showed the landmark trees, and it happened to be one of the biggest trees on the display. So of course, my first reaction was what? But I knew there was a good reason. But my point is, right next to that tree and right across from that tree are enormous, I just took pictures because it's really easy to talk about this. But if you look at these pictures, a picture tells a story. Cobbett's Lane is the landscape of the island is beginning to have a certain invasive look to it in so many directions. And it is not a volunteer job, which is the reason you don't have it, because volunteers will not go out season after season for no money. Where do they get the trucks? Where do they get the tools? They have to come back once the vines are down and take it out. I mean, all I'm saying is everybody knows this is a massive amount of maintenance to do, and somehow it's treated as like Plan B and not part of the integrity, because the irony of the clear cutting is that these trees are becoming clear cutting in the sense that you're going to have to clear cut trees that are so burdened by this kind of invasiveness. And it doesn't matter at a certain point how things get the way they get. What matters is, going forward. So I don't want to rant, and I don't frankly want to have conversations if I'm in a powerless position. I have the trucks. Or every other car here is a contractor or a landscaper or whatever. Get some bids to take this stuff out as a paid maintenance job that goes with the island, and decide who's capable or who can you afford to do it. But again, it's April 1st. That means right now, I'm not hearing it's going to happen before you have tourism and hot weather and more drought. So that's, what's the point of talking about this? You need a crew and you need to pay for it, and you need to treat it as a vital part of this island. I don't want to ride my bike around this, where it's sort of like, well, where am I? Is this really Shelter Island? That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else? All right, we're going to get into the applications for business on town property. I'm going to bump 2 and 3 to 5, so that there are people here who have been waiting very patiently.
Okay.
All right, so the first one on the list is Bone Spa. It's been here for the last 16, 17 years.
Yep.
Pretty much asking for a very similar setup to last year. Last year, when we approved this application, we then went back and amended it because the way we had it worded, it was that he had to stay within a 20 by 20 space. And with the 2 tents, it didn't quite work. So we changed it to allow for him to stay within 400 square feet. So it could be 25 feet by 15 feet, and that accommodated having the storage container outside of the tent and a check-in table outside of the tent, which kind of made more sense. So for this particular application, we did make that amendment last year. So if everybody's had a chance to look at it, do you have any questions?
Meg, the first thing that came to light here, is that the insurance policy is expired.
We'll make an updated insurance a requirement of the permit, of the resolution. Yeah.
You're going to come across some of them are missing. Everyone is aware that they need to submit. The insurance companies start on different months where they issue it for the year differently, but everyone knows that they need to submit.
Look, they did a great job last year. I mean, they have all the years in the past.
Mhm.
And my only issue with the application, which is actually not really relevant to this conversation right now,
Okay.
is that the fee doesn't seem appropriate for what we're doing.
$250.
Yes. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that's something that we can evaluate before the budget
Yeah.
and kind of work
Oh,
on
no,
it.
exactly. Like I said, my comment isn't relevant to this conversation, but.
I think it comes at the right time because you really should be advising your vendors who may be returning next year. It's not going to be it will not remain the same, that it's going to be a change, okay? Well, on this page 3, okay, on this one, I can't make up, on that, what says operation, am I reading 21 beach chairs?
Where, page 3 of 3?
3, on it says operations.
I
Hello?
think it's 2. Hello.
2?
It's 2 because that's the P from top of the line above. It's 2 beach chairs and 2 benches.
Okay. Got it, okay.
Tyrone, was that you speaking?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you for doing that.
No
Okay.
problem.
Like I said, from all reports, they have behaved extremely responsibly.
Yeah, they're asking for the same space on the beach as all the previous years.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't have a problem with this application, but for the fee. So,
Right, so essentially, we would do the same resolution that we did the previous year.
Maybe what I'd like to do next year, okay, I'd like to have a floor plan of the whole beach, so we see all the vendors all at one time. I haven't been able, you have it there?
No, but I have it on Google Maps.
Okay,
So it's, here, I'll share my screen. Oh, Coco's, or Christina, can I share? So if you look, wait a second, okay, here you go. So this is Sunset Beach.
right,
And then right in front, you'll see this area is where Bone Spa sets up. And then over to the left, right here, are the paddle boards for Venture Out.
okay,
And then if we go down towards
the curve.
the, there we go. Here's the pavilion
Right.
and the bathrooms. So you have the Islander food truck right here. And Ride Shore is typically right here. They set up their tent here, and then this is where they work out of this area. On the side.
Just for history's sake, there certainly was a question as to whether or not Ride Shore was in the way of, fire access to, but the fire department didn't have a problem with it.
Right. So, I mean, that's pretty much the layout for Crescent Beach. And then Mr. Softy drives from place to place, beach to beach, so he's transient. And we did not get the other 2 applications this year for ice cream trucks, so that makes it very simple. We didn't get that, so it's just Mr. Softy.
Sure.
so basically the space of this permit is 15 by 25, is that what I'm reading?
Yes,
Sorry, okay.
yes, but not yet. Not yet. Yeah, he's asking for a space that's 15 by 25.
My other objection to this application is that I didn't get a chance to take advantage of this service.
Well, now you have this summer if we approve it. All right. So is everybody okay with this
Yeah,
application?
one thing I'd like to, what you brought up, that to look at the expense, the cost of this. And I think we should do it immediately after this, not today,
Yeah.
but right away. Because every year it's like, oh yeah, we gotta look at that, and we don't. And then it becomes, well, they already have the application, so it's too late this year. Let's do it right after this. Let's just make it a priority now.
Agreed. But I also do want to point out, though, it's not a simple thing, because I think it has to be graduated. It's one thing to raise a fee on, like a service like this, which actually producing a lot of cash, as opposed to, a truck that sells frozen fruit juice. But we got to figure that out.
That'll be a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
On a different day.
Yeah.
So for this particular application, we have the business period between May 22nd is when he wants to start up, and September 9th. Hours are from 9 to 7. He has two 10x10 tents. There's going to be no designated parking spot guaranteed with the application. They're not allowed to cone off parking spaces. He's responsible for his own trash, can't use the town facilities. And certificate of liability insurance needs to be current and has to comply with all federal, state, and county licenses. And that's pretty much, that's the story of his resolution. So we're okay with that? We can move on to the next one?
I'm okay with that.
All right. The next application we have is Mr. Softy. Annette, if you want to come up.
Yep.
So this year, we don't have conflicting ice cream like we did last year, which is,
That's why
Nice
we
for
are
us.
in 1959, we, serve the ice cream.
You've been doing this since 59?
No, my company does.
Oh, yeah.
But I do like almost 17, 18 years.
So you don't look that old, so.
so essentially in past years, we had it, that it would run from,
We completely, respect the town boards. We never went to Crescent Beach. All customers call us, but, wherever you decided, I agree. But this year's, I think nobody gonna do it, because if Mr. Softy in one town, is other unnamed, they don't have the chance to, make the sell it in the town. But I never argue with them since this is the fourth and 5 years I'm doing. And I never find them, everybody trying to make their own business. I respect it. I am not gonna fight with them, but of course I'm gonna compensation my work.
right.
The only real question here, though, is what do we do about Crescent Beach? And
Well,
do we
that's
give
what
them
I was gonna
parking space
say.
and-
Well, we haven't in the past, and
Do
what,
you have the space over there?
yeah, so there's space by the, by where the Islander is, there's, because last year, one of the ice cream trucks was pulling in there. They're not gonna be here this year, so there's space down by where the Islander parks, and then there's also hash mark space up at the further end between Sunset and the Prigwin, like right in the middle, kind of in front of Pearlman, there's like a hashed off area where you could also pull over. So as long as you're not blocking traffic and you're out of the way, then I don't
And then you
see it
leave
being a
enough
problem.
room for one of the other trucks. I mean, the Islander truck. for
Well, the
instance.
Islander, once they're set there, and their space is designated. So it would be working within the rules of the road.
I'm pretty like doing this one, but if traffic is over there, always I'm going to turn into one circle and then getting good space, I don't wanna get my customer going to travel in the beach, that's not,
Right,
and I'm not blocking anything because this is not the rules.
right.
But you've always been good about following the rules.
Yeah, really. Sometimes, it's customers is very impatient because they wanted to get their ice cream. Because we have this one experienced in the future, in the past. And it was the Sunset Beach restaurant is over there. Two customers stayed in front of the trucks, and then I couldn't move and then I got the ticket, but when I explained it, they said was the were the drunk, you know, you cannot do anything. They said, if you not give it the ice cream, we're not gonna let you go.
Well, it's easier to just sell them the ice cream.
But I explained the cops and I said, listen, just the one cone, I don't want the money, just to,
Mhm.
Do you,
clear the road.
do you normally buy a parking sticker for the truck?
Yes,
It's best to have like a designated spot where he can go so that
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
knows what's expected. So last year's resolution excluded him from going to Crescent Beach, but this year, since there's no other ice cream truck, I feel like it's okay to include Crescent Beach.
Absolutely.
But we do need to designate exactly where on Crescent Beach. Chief Reed, you have your hand up. You have comment?
Yes, maybe I could share because I have to, I'm not complaining about Mr. Softy in any way, but I have to hold the line a little bit on the safety side of that. So one is that he dispensed from the sidewalk side of his truck, that he doesn't dispense on the roadside. And second is, he can't be anywhere near the crosswalk near Sunset Beach. He can't pull in there. He should have no reason to pull in there. I would probably rather see him at the far end of, if Christina allowed me to share, I sent her a text. I'll just see if I can share in my screen.
Down by Perlman?
Yeah, and so you can kind of see where it says 42 right here on the screen.
Yeah.
We have this hash marked out.
yeah, exactly right.
Right, so if he was it's the end of our diagonal spots where the parallel parking starts. And then if he had to go to the other end of the beach, somewhere in the neighborhood, like you had suggested, where the Islander
Thank
food
you.
truck
Yeah,
goes in. So he's familiar with that. He worked, I'm not in any way saying that it doesn't work with us, but it has to be, in that area, it's a busy beach area. We just have to hold the line on some of those rules that we establish.
That sounds good.
Hey, you okay with that?
yeah. All every does.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, it's traffic is very mash over there. I passed, I never go inside and I turn where is the restroom is, I turn over there and go to other one, and when it gets a little cool down, I'll come back.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone have any questions?
Again, there's no insurance here, so I guess before they receive the permit, they provide the insurance. Is that how it
Yeah,
works?
it's part of the resolution.
Yeah.
That's part of every
Well, I mean, but-
resolution.
Yeah, the
He
permit.
sent over his insurance today.
Yeah, I send it.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe different music?
No, this, I cannot do it because this is the rule of the Mr. Softy.
Only kidding.
All right. So we're all good with that application?
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Oh, you have no signature on this form? At least I don't think there was.
Yeah, that's a
Oh, there's
signature
it,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah, I see it. Okay, got it.
You're good.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
If you need any applications, be done, I'm over here.
We'll reach out to you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too. Ride Shore LLC. What I have next? Hi, very patient.
Dave Whiskey, representing myself and John Ecker, partner in Rochester. 16th year coming up, so I think it's 6 with the application.
Yeah.
Is this the one that Ken wrote the recommendation letter about, or was that
Kayaks.
kayaks? Yeah, okay.
But we haven't had any issues with Ride Shore either.
Nah.
It's worked very well. You work well with the police department and the Bay Constables, which is wonderful. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. They actually like having you out there with extra eyes on the water.
Yeah, I mean, we employ way overqualified people. I graduated from maritime and we grab from like a maritime base and guys in between ships and tugboats. So it's.
So am I correct when I look at this map here, is this the area of, the area, approximate location of the business? So you only work basically from the landing to the east, is that what it is? You don't cover any boats that are out on, beyond the, what do you call it, the swim, the,
Swim area, like,
yeah, swimming area, those boats, you don't handle those at all?
Well, I mean.
I'm just looking at the map.
his point of operation from the beach is on the other side of the landing.
Right.
Yeah, this is the beach over here. This is where, there's a lot, so I guess he's only servicing this area, I'm assuming.
Oh,
That's what I was talking about.
I don't know.
Unless this is wrong, I guess.
I'm not sure. Does it matter?
No.
The area you're servicing is, this is the landing, this is the bathhouse here. It's showing basically all this section over here. So there's a swim line here, and there's usually boats out here, so you don't service any of them except on the right side?
It depends where they anchor. It varies
Yeah,
almost every day, so I mean, that's not 100% accurate. It's
Okay.
with the service location in the water.
essentially they service like the whole area in front of.
Up in front of the swim line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the larger boats can't anchor over in that area, and you wouldn't want them to, so,
Actually, the best holding ground is over to the east.
yeah, but like the really big boats
Yeah.
can't really drop anchor in some of those areas.
And how they call you, what, on channel 16 or
78,
78?
channel 78, text message, phone call.
Does anybody have any additional questions or comments for the application?
No.
Last year, we approved you for one 10 by 10 tent, so that you had some shade.
Yeah.
So there's no signature on this one, though.
Stay the same.
Amber Wilson, are you still with us?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, there you are. Yeah, to Gordon's question, I assume before everything is said and done, you go through and make sure all applications are complete. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's because it printed without the line on it, so it doesn't even show that a signature is required on here. It's okay.
Yeah, I have everything.
Yeah, all right. Anybody have any other
That's it.
questions? We're okay with this
Oh,
one?
good.
All right,
All right, you're good, thank you.
see everybody, so.
Yeah.
So see you this summer.
Yes.
A safe summer.
All right, Shelter Island Kayak Shelter Island.
They're on the phone, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everyone.
Hello.
Good.
How are we doing? Everything is the same this year. We're not looking for any changes. Just looking to operate out of the Burns Road launch, take care of the Cockles Harbor Water Trail, and that's most of our business there. Of course, we also do deliveries, by request anywhere on the island. And
Right.
yeah, that's about it. See everyone.
For whatever it's worth, I'm a resident of Burns Road, and I have been for 25 years. And you guys are a fixture, and you're never in anybody's way. You're always, considerate and concerned about other people's access to the water. There's never any garbage down there. I mean, it's a great operation, and it's kind of a fixture of the neighborhood,
I
actually.
appreciate that. Thank you. And I'll, that goes to Jay as well, of course, who operated the business for, I think we're going into our 38th year now.
Yep.
And it'll be my 6th year working it, my 5th year owning it. So time passes really quick, guys.
What do you usually have, a vehicle and the trailer, kayak trailer?
Yeah, I have
Parked there?
my Jeep still in the trailer. If it gets busy, I'll bring down a second trailer and leave it up the street a little bit. But everything gets taken down at the end of the day. There's nothing there left at the end of the day. If it gets busier, we'll bring back more trailers, but I try to keep it clean and accessible. I think anybody who knows, I ask our customers to park up the street. That way the locals always have the spot right up in front, ready and waiting for them. And yeah.
All that is true.
Adam, you do a good job.
I appreciate it, guys. I'm looking forward to being back amongst y'all.
Anybody have any other conditions or thing? No signature?
Well, there's no thing, but you're saying that before. Hey.
I
I did deserve that.
All right, so your resolution will pretty much be the same as last year.
Very good, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Yep, have a good season.
Take care now.
All right, the next one we have is Trent. Trent Firestein wants to do a workout class on the beach just on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. This really
I'm okay.
doesn't take up any space or utilize any town services for the most part, so. Does anybody have any issues? We're good? All right.
And what year is this? Sure.
For Trent?
Yeah.
I think it's year two.
Yeah.
Yeah. We came in late to the game last year.
Ben, you want to go down there with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
9
so
o'clock too early.
Trent is good to go?
Trent is good to go.
All right. Islander Food Truck, also known as Between the Forks LLC. Hello.
Name's a little corny. Yeah.
Before you get started, he turned in his insurance today.
Thank you. So you have that same designated space down by the gazebo. Are you changing anything in your operation?
Not change everything since last year.
Okay. The one thing that we did have as a requirement is that you get your inspection from the building department for the truck. Yep. And otherwise, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
No, we're good with the location. It's
Yeah.
to the right, to the east.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
So I think we're,
So all the other documents will be attached to this when he gets his permit.
yes. Yep, so the insurances and everything will come.
Yeah.
Meg,
Before
I
you
just
get-
have a light one. Are you
Yes.
gonna use a generator this year?
I'm sorry?
Are you gonna be
Generator.
using a generator?
Yeah. Yeah, the same generator last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there complaints about the generator, chief?
I think it was during a transition when he had one break down and went to another one, which we understand, but that'd be a whisper quiet and have reduced sound. It's right next to our pavilion, and so if the generator is loud, it's not conducive to that location.
Sound suppressed.
Yeah, we actually have that as a condition of the original last year's permit was that it have to be a whisper quiet generator, so.
Yeah, doubles in its conversation.
I think this is gonna happen with Ashley and having a problem with general, so I buy new one, so I don't have any problem with that one, so
Okay.
I remember this is gonna happen like 2 years ago with that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else, chief?
No,
No?
thank you. They've been great, very workable with us, and anything we need to do, they're right on board.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
All right, does anybody else have any questions or
Hey.
comments?
No.
All right, I think you're good to go.
Thank you so much, thank you guys.
All right. Stars Food Truck. So Stars works mainly out of, or only out of Wades Beach. So the Islander has Crescent, Stars has Wades.
Nope.
And it's gonna be pretty much the same as last year.
If I remember correctly, Pepe requested that, didn't he? No?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So is everybody all right with this application? It would be the same conditions as last year, same location.
Signature and an insurance cert.
Yes, those will be included. All right. And then the last one that we have came in a little late. We got it yesterday, and it's for Venture Out, the paddleboard. Matt Stromberg is here, I believe. I saw him online. Hi,
Yep.
Matt.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Is there a motion?
I'm trying to start video. It says,
Crescent
we
Beach
go
Lodge.
allow. Okay, there we go. There we are.
All right, so, Venture Out has been on Crescent Beach for quite a number of years at this point. What we have found a little bit in the past is that there's some creep. You take up a little bit of extra space sometimes, Matt. So I think we're going to need to kind of designate a zone for you to kind of stay within a boundary, so it doesn't sort of spread to the whole beach.
We've tried in the past, in my even in my packet, you can, that there's certain, in the beginning, things are a certain way. They're very, excuse me, I'm coming over a cold. My voice.
No worries, it's
Terrible.
okay.
It's terrible. And, my packet did come in last night on the 31st after an urgent care visit. So excuse me. I wouldn't call it so much creep. We get busy. There's no excuse on that. We get very busy on the weekends in the height of the summer. We get very busy. And then midweek happens and then we're not busy. And then you can see in some of the photos in our packet, that's what it looks like. It's like the calm again. And then Saturday hits or Sunday hits, and then it's just, you might call it the creep, but we're dealing with it and everything moves and then everything gets reset and everything gets put back together and then everything's fine. Anyone that has worked alongside of us, independent contractors and whatnot, everything moves smoothly. This is our 15th year doing this. We move a lot of equipment. We've serviced, if you read, our scope, we hit just below 15,000 users last summer. That's a lot of people.
It is, that's a tremendous amount of people.
Yeah, and we also stay in contact with them. We have newsletters that go out. We have all their email addresses. We love the fact that they're mostly repeat. They come to Shelter Island. They expect us to be there. That's sort of the thing. That's sort of, we didn't realize that was the animal we created, that I've watched these people grow up. I've watched children grow up. I've watched adults grow up. I've watched myself grow up. I've watched myself get married. I've watched my child grow up now, who hopefully will work for me in the future. But it's not the creep. We are aware of that. We're aware of everything that happens with Venture Out. And we can't help expansion. It's good for business. When a business gets busy or a business explodes, it means that's a good thing, right? Well, we also, what happens is we just we pull it back in. And actually, if you stood down there and you watched what happens throughout the day, yeah, you get a little creep, but then everything it comes right back in. And then the same thing, it comes back out and then it comes right back in. And then everything is up, down, all day long. And then boom, it's done again the next day. And then it's the weekday. And it's over, 65 days later, summer's over. And that's what we do. And it's hard and it's tough. And, we know how many boards to bring down. We know how many kayaks to bring down. And we don't bring more than we need. And we don't bring less than we need. And we don't bring less life jackets than we need or safety equipment than we need. And we've kind of gotten to a point where we know the expansion where we're at. And like I said, the creep that you're talking about, we are aware of. We don't want to go past, like, we have our lines on the beach that we are aware of. When we look at the water up to the rail, we know we don't want to go past this way or go past this way. And if we do, it's a quick switch and everything goes up. And
yes, it might look full, but then if 15 minutes later, it's not full. And then that happens throughout the day. And once again, all we're doing is providing activity,
Right.
so we're not saturating them with hamburgers and cheeseburgers. We're really giving them activities on the water or something to do while visiting in Shelter Island. And we're bringing them to the island with,
Right.
we're using our resources to bring them to the island, or they've already been to the island and used us. And they're also doing other things on the island through us or not through us. So we are aware of the creep, but we have our boundaries. And if you go down to the white rail on Crescent Beach, you will see the paint is very different on the rail. We stay within that. And we do our best that we can, because we paint the rail every year and we stay in between that. We do our best to do that. If it looks like we creep a little bit or we move it back a little bit, we do our best to keep it. But we can't help that, people come to paddleboard and kayak at that location. And when we get so busy, we have to satisfy that need. And then once that's done, then Monday hits again, and then it's just normal.
Okay.
And it happens again and again, and then summer's over.
Right. All right. Chief, I see you have your hand up.
Yes.
Right,
How you
so-
doing, Chief?
Hey, Matty, how you doing?
Good.
So I do want to preface my conversation with this. Matt has been a good partner for the town and doing business down there for many years. But Matt, I owe the town board some expansion to your explanation, right? So they're reviewing your application, and in reviewing that application, they should fully understand what they're approving. All right, so I'm going to first I'd like to share my screen to give a photo, and just so the town is aware of what they're actually approving, because Matt, this photo is pretty accurate of what it looks like at the beach, right? So this is not a busy time for you. This is late in the afternoon. And you're taking a significant portion of the beach here to lay out the front side. If you can see my mouse moving across here, you have kayaks up on the rail. This tent area is pretty much what the town approved, so to speak. And it goes down over here. You have a container, and then you have a larger board. And Matt, just work with me here. All
Yes.
right? I want them to be
No,
aware
this is
of
normal. Yes. No.
what they're
I'm aware of it.
approving. So then on top of that, let me just go down to,
That's actually a slow day.
okay.
That's a very slow day.
Right, so this again is off of your web or your site on the web, right? So,
Mhm.
you
Oh my God, that's when Crescent Beach used to be really busy.
Okay, so some of that, but when you look at these beach photos,
That's like 2013. That's when
Okay,
Crescent Beach used to be very busy.
yeah,
Now
so.
it's dead.
But I don't want to downplay in any way, Matt, because the photo that I had up first was from last year, taken from the water side. So even in this, like when we approve this, we're trying to hold the line, Matt. If everybody had the business growth that you had, we're gonna lose space on the beach. So when the town board approves this, they understand fully. If you look up in here where you stage these out on the beach, not necessarily this board here, but behind the board, what that looks like for the town.
Absolutely.
So,
Chief, you're absolutely correct. And what I'd like to, can I add something to this?
yeah, say what you want.
So when you are on the water and you look at a beach, it is very different. And it's the same thing when you're on the beach and when you're looking out on the water. Very different. If you look in our packet, we provide an aerial view of it's on page 11. It's the parking map and site map of our location. It would be page 11 minus the cover page of our packet. for this year. When you look at that, which is the actual aerial view of the space we take up on the beach, it looks very different from when you're taking a photo from the water. This is an aerial view, and the equipment is actually,
Christina, can you let me share again, please?
I don't have.
I have it. I'm gonna put it up, Matt.
Yeah.
Is this what you're
The
referring
one
to?
on the top, yes, the one on the top or bottom. And that's sort of a field view from the opposite way. But when you have an aerial view, it's very different than when you look at it from water level.
Right, but understand, Matt, last year's application did not approve what you're showing in this aerial.
Chief Reed, can you scroll down just a little bit to this bottom photo?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
This one with the boxes?
Yes, that one.
Okay. So Matt, again, my job as an employee of the town board is to make sure that they realize what they're approving.
Okay.
Oh, my concern, yeah, looking at this is it's taking up the total width of the beach from the rail to the shoreline. In essence, you take up a whole section of beach. Even just the photo, what is there? 1, 2, 7 craft?
Well, if you look,
then you're saying that there's even more that you bring in on a Saturday or Sunday when they're obviously very big beach days.
But the thing, what I'm trying to say is, this is when they're on the sand. We'll have 20 craft in the water.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said,
So the point
this
is,
highlights
when
my
something-
earlier problem.
when
I think this is fine. I don't have an issue with this. What I have an issue with is what we're charging them for. I
Right,
mean,
well, I mean,
we can't do anything about it today or this year, but I mean, it's fine for him to do this, but there needs to be an associated proper fee.
Would it help to bring the boards back up closer to let them have a stand, let them stack them?
We do. We stack them on the white rail. So, when something's not active, so we try to keep, roughly about 7 boards active on the sand. But what happens is when you have 10 boards out in the water and you have groups and they come in, they usually all come in at once. And then, so they come in, they come on the sand, and then we try to get them and we lean them on the white rail as fast as possible. And we do that we do everything as fast as possible. The space that we take up left to right on the sand is what is important. And that's the creep. That's what we are aware of, is the left to right from our tent. And that is sort of like, if you were to imagine the tent, which is a 10 by 10 tent, like just continue to the water. So we try to stay kind of within that, is sort of, just imaginary. That's what we use as our boundary, as when tide comes in, tide comes out. So when stuff comes in, obviously we know there's more gear on the ground and we pull it up, we pull it up, we pull it up. But if there's a need for it, and then what happens is the rush goes, equipment leaves, and then when it needs to be used, it comes back down. And these are people that are already on the beach. These are people that are already visiting. These are people that already are parking. And these are people that have already either paid or bought a beach or have already paid the ferry or already on the island.
right.
They want to paddle and they want to be in the water.
Matt, do you operate in any other location other than Shelter Island?
Our delivery business used to be, I'll be very honest, our delivery business used to be a lot better. Over the years, because the business has been saturated. When we first started, no one knew what a paddleboard was. now, every household kind of has one, whether it's old, beat up, or just laying in the basement or something. So, it's sort of like fizzled out. But to have the access when you're on vacation or at a beach location, like if any one of you on the town board, if you were on vacation anywhere in the world, you go to the beach, there's a paddleboard or a kayak rental business immediately at the beach.
So Matt, the issue I don't think is whether or not you should be here and be accessible to the public and things like that. I think the issue is, and the concern that I'm hearing from both the chief and some of the board members, is that the sheer area of the beach that you're taking up. So we designate essentially a 400 square foot area for each business on the beach. And so it definitely looks like you're exceeding that. You're probably doubling that amount of sheer area. And so the goal would be to kind of get you to rein into that 400 or 20 by 20 square foot area. So maybe if you had a rack and you could put the paddle boards on a rack so that they're up vertical and kind of more contained instead of spreading out across both the beach and the rail. I think that's kind of the concern.
We would be open to that. And over the years, we've there's so many things that we've come up with over the years. We've even come up with like putting a flag on one side and a flag on the other, a short flag, like a 4-foot flag
just to designate your space.
Designate the area. We've always wanted to kind of be low key on the beach. We've never we don't logo things up. You never see, the flaily arms man, saying, hey, rent here. We've been very, we've tried to keep that, persona on the beach.
Right.
I would be open to that, if I knew, if I could stake a flag and be like, this is where I need to stay in between. I'm okay with something like that. A rack, the rail is sort of like a free rack. It's already there. We line up boards at the end of the day, and throughout the day, they just kind of line up and they look cool anyway there. It's sort of, everyone does it anyway. But once again, it's just the ebb and flow down there. Everyone knows that Saturdays and Sundays gets really busy down there, and it only happens for a certain amount of time and then it fizzles out.
Yeah, I understand how things could absolutely get chaotic and people will be coming in and then leaving their boards, and then new people will be coming in, you'll be sorting it out.
Well, yeah,
but-
we just try to move it in, and it's all about safety first. We reset everything, and then we reset everything, and then it's all about resetting. And then
Right. So
and then
the goal, the goal I think is just to have less being stored wide open on the beach, just taking up the space between the water and the rail, like Albert said. You're kind of taking up that entire space in front of where your tent is. So try to keep it so that there's a clear access. People can walk through without feeling like they're going over your equipment. And if you can pull it all back towards the rail instead of having it stored up by the water, I think that's probably the best.
We try not to take up as much sand as possible. I mean, throughout the day, we're there 12 hours a day. We see 2 tides. So in August, we see the low and the high. So you'll see, almost 20 foot of beach disappear and come back, 1.5 times throughout the day. So, depending on the time of the day, you'll see the boards nicely lined up. You'll see 8 boards lined up, or eight pieces of equipment. And then later in the day, you might see boards stacked differently, 2 deep or whatever. But we try to stay within an area. And when maybe sometime over the next couple weeks, I can try to stake out an area and come up with an actual left to right. And if I could, I'd be open to putting up a short flag if you guys would be okay with that.
Yeah, I think that would be all right, just so that
I mean,
everybody.
they'd also look cool too, if you'd be okay with that too.
What do you guys
I'm not
think?
gonna logo them up, but it would kind of be a short, thin flag, they'd be thin.
It needs
and
2
tall.
flags, it needs a 22 out there. Not 10 feet tall, but, you know, whatever.
No, they'd be short. I don't want
Yeah.
anything taller than,
Is he the only one who he keeps the storage on the beach over the night, correct?
So, yeah, he has a storage bin he keeps at the beach overnight, and I think Bone Spa does too. And they
Yes.
also strap their tents to the rail so they don't blow.
Right.
So those are
yeah, they're strapped,
things.
they'll drill in, they don't go anywhere.
right.
Matt, if I could ask you something.
Absolutely.
The picture, you have 8 craft side by side lined up. It's not as convenient, but can you put 4 and 4? 4
We do.
behind the front 4, rather than take up a whole section of beach?
Correct, so what
I know
just
there's
said-
probably more maneuvering, but it
So
kind of minimizes your,
as the day progresses, so what happens is, you know, we might have them left to right, like you said, 8 craft, you know, and then as the tide kind of comes in and out, we'll go too deep, you know, so we'll start going deep. So we're not wider, we're deeper.
Yeah.
So we take up more space going back to my tent instead of wider. So sort of like, and like the photos, do you guys have the packet there?
Yes.
You do. So if you guys go back to that page, it would be the 11th page, the same one, the parking map. Not the aerial view, but the one that's on the bottom, I call it like the ground level view. That's what it looks like every day. Like when we get there 7 days a week, there's 4 boards, 3 kayaks, like side by side. Anything more is depending on the day of the week. So it's very quiet, but yes, as like the tide goes in and out, we kind of tighten up and go deeper back towards the tent. So nothing goes wider. It just kind of goes too deep front to back.
Okay.
And I would really like to put flags down if you guys are, I've kind of like held off on that, but I can give you guys a rendering or something like that of what I propose, and they wouldn't be anything gaudy or ugly,
Too tall.
something like that. No, I don't want them tall, and they won't even be sharp or anything like that, but something that's sort of like, not like even like flappy, something like, you know, short.
Yeah.
And
Chief,
I will stay right in between them, and I would gladly stay in between them. It keeps people away from them too, and putting their drinks on my paddle boards as well.
okay. Chief, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, I just in general from a management side, and I think we should get the Commissioner of Public Works involved in that, in the management side of it, to have him go down there with Matt. But I really think we should designate an area and hold the line on the area. I mean,
I agree, Chief. I agree, Chief.
right. It's simpler for you to say, this is my zone, and I stay in this zone, and it's easier for us when people complain that you're expanding too far or whatever.
Absolutely.
Is the zone that the town board approved. I know you're pushing back a little bit, Matt, on some of this stuff, but we as a municipality have to hold the line sometimes. And
I'll just show you the line that I call my line. You know, come down to the water's edge, we'll look up to the road.
right,
We'll
but as
say,
Councilman
"This is-"
Dixon says, it's not from the rails all the way to the water. Like it,
No. I'll just
Right.
say where I try to keep my line. And
Right.
then you and I and, you know, with Public Works, will decide on a line, and that'll be the line.
You'll hold the line and
I'll hold the line.
stack them on top of each other if you have to. And that
That's
line,
what I have to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I'll show you where I like to be, you know, within this area. And you should, you know, we'll just come up with we'll come up with an area.
right. So could the
I'm okay
board
with
pen
that.
this application?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with an area.
Yep. Yeah,
As long
we
as it's
can,
within the area I like to kind of operate in. I don't
Right.
want to be like 40 feet to the right or 50 feet to the left, you know, I like kind of.
yeah, no, we'll keep you in the same general
Thank
zone.
you.
That we're not going to move you up
Absolutely.
or down the beach because that works. The way it's been laid out forever works is just maintaining a space that's designated just for you. So let's set up a meeting with Ken and Chief. Do you want to be in there for the site visit?
Okay.
And we'll set up the space. It will designate it, and that'll be one of the conditions of the resolution and the permit.
And
Does that work?
the only difference in this permit this year is he's looking for a parking space.
Yeah, that was good. That was the next one.
Yes.
So In the past, we have not set designated parking spaces because there's such high demand down at that beach. What does everybody feel?
And high demand, how's that bitch? That's a hard one.
I think you're taking up the space away from the public.
Yeah, I agree with that, Gordon.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
Matt, how many boards do you have, on the, when you operate there on a daily basis, how many boards are available?
On a daily basis can be 10, 5, 6 kayaks on a daily basis.
So you,
Who else would do a spot to?
No one.
No, yeah.
Yeah, we,
So can I talk about the parking space real quick?
sure.
So once again, it's our 15th year doing this. We've been navigating that parking space, the same space for 15 years. You know, we're not asking for any handouts or anything like that. The point of the parking space is we want to future-proof this business. We want Venture Out to move in for another 15 years. I'm not getting younger, and we don't want it just to like fizzle out because I'm getting older. We want there to always be paddle boards and always be kayaks available on Crescent Beach forever under the Venture Out name brand, you know, approved by Shelter Island Town. Why shouldn't people be able to paddleboard and kayak at that location? All we're asking is to easily be able to get in and out of that location safely and smoothly. We don't want there to be fines attached to this. We just want to be able to come in and out the same way a food truck does. And having that just, it takes so much off of my plate to be able to pull in and go to work for 12 hours and come home and do it again. And if it's sunny every day, it could be a 90-day work week.
Where do you put your car now?
At my house.
Okay, so, I mean, we don't give parking spaces to any other vendor.
Right. I mean, if he has a
Except
beach
for the
sticker,
food
he can
trucks.
park.
Yeah.
Well, the food trucks, the difference with the food trucks is that they are not taking parking spaces from the public because they're parking in spaces where the public's not allowed to park.
Correct.
And they're also servicing not on the beach, they're servicing on the road,
Right.
Correct.
sidewalk.
I mean, when in 2020, when during the pandemic, when food trucks were just sort of like not even a thing, and they decided to allow them to operate, they redrew lines in the road to accommodate them on Crescent Beach. So there was not enough space, and they moved spaces on the road to allow food trucks to park there. You know, years later, now there's 4 food trucks on the island, and there's food trucks everywhere. Prior to that, food trucks were abomination everywhere, because apparently, you know, they competed with restaurants. All we want to do is provide a service, and we lug a ton of equipment down to the beach. And without, you know, we have done all we can for safety purposes, coning off, you know, lifting, moving. It's just, it's like, it's all we're asking is to make our lives a little bit easier and to create, we're trying to future-proof this forever. We want Venture Out to be forever on Shelter Island, in that space, at that location, whether I'm here or not. And that's why we're asking for the space. And we are a vendor that does serve Shelter Island. We serve 15,000 people, 15,000 visitors to the island over the years. And all we want is just a place to park where we are granted a permit to operate a business in front of.
We don't issue permits. Is that
Well, we don't designate a
There's a
parking
parking
spot
spot.
and block it out so that nobody
Yeah.
else could use it.
You can get a parking permit from,
You have
You
to
get
get a
beach
parking
sticker,
permit,
yeah.
yes, but we
Not
don't
not
designate.
designated.
I don't know, then we're setting a precedent. I'm always concerned about.
I've not done this before.
Yeah,
There's no other business that would require it. I mean, the Shelter Island Kayak has all of Burns Road.
well, we've had, Bond Spa ask for a designated parking spot in the past
He
and
is
we
the
denied
only
that.
Other business, because it would be me and him on Crescent Beach. Any other business that requires a commerce on town property does not have anything to do with what I'm asking.
I'm just reading the contract here. Okay, it's talking about 14 to 18 paddle boards on weekends,
Correct,
2 large circular floats,
correct.
and 2 large floating mat, and where else? And 2 to 4 kayaks. That's a lot of equipment.
And that's,
You're talking about 18.
is it a weekday or a weekend, sir?
This weekend, 18, you got 18, 20, 22. You could have 25 pieces of equipment on that beach.
Yeah,
That's
you come in the morning, you unload it.
I know.
You drive away.
You should come down there on a Saturday in August. That could be normal. And it comes in and out, and then it just vaporizes, and then the day is reset.
At the very least, I congratulate you on your successes. You've built a really kind of fun and interesting business.
Thank you. It's actually it's tough. It is fun and interesting. But it is tough. I mean, this is hard work. You know, everyone thinks it's the dream business. Oh, you just get tan and this and that. No, it's not. It's tough. We have to, I'm sorry, we have to deal with all of you every year. And, we also have to,
Must be talking to Meg.
we also have to, our clientele and everything. It's tough. And you know what? We're not rich. This is a tough business, but it's fun and we love it. And if you're not on Shelter Island and you're not on a paddleboard or you're not on a big float, what are you doing? That's the way we feel,
I'm sitting in town hall.
What do you think?
The parking space?
Yes, parking space.
I think it's too calculated
to the existing, the residents come on the beach every day. And this is not a great precedent to set. We don't do it for anybody else.
Albert?
Yeah, we don't do it for anybody else, and then we open the door, I would feel. I can empathize with the lifting and the lugging, but I mean,
And I applaud you guys contemplating that. The thing is, we park there anyway. We are there at 6:45 in the morning.
Then there's no problem.
At 7:45 at night.
Then there's no problem.
then there's no
I mean,
issue.
there are problems, and we're trying to get rid of those problems.
Okay. But you've made it work in the past, Matt.
But I'm not. The thing is, I'm getting older, and I can't be there anymore. I can't be there every day. I'm trying to future-proof the business, and I just don't want everything to fizzle out because I can't always be there to navigate the beach for any staff that we work with or anything like that going forward. I need a qualified individual that's able to pull up and go do their job and be able to leave every day just as I do. And I can't do it forever anymore. I'm 46 now. I have a 3.5-year-old, and I will be there all summer this year and come down, meet my son, meet me. And, we're just trying to make our day and life easier, and we're going to keep pushing for Venture Out forever. And we want
What's your position?
I think it's worked so far. Chief, I saw you came back on. Did you have something?
No, I just think it's too convoluted. The only thing I would say to Matt is if you want to give and take, you want to move your location, we'll move you to one end or the other. If you don't want to move your location, then you gotta deal with it the way it is.
Yeah. We thought about that, Chief. We can't, the
Yeah.
boats are on one end and the docks are on the other. and
Yep.
It goes left and right, and because it meets in the middle, it's always worked out. It allows people to come in and out, and it's in my packet because it allows people to easily come back to home base in the middle.
Right,
of the
so
beach.
therefore, the parking's not gonna work, Matt. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So, Matt, we'll set up a meeting to just designate your space. Otherwise, the conditions of your permit will be the same as they were last year.
Well, if I'm unallowed to use a parking space, if I cannot have a designated parking space, can I then use carte blanche to use my cones to load and unload as much as possible?
No carte blanche.
Okay.
Matt, I just can't do it. It's not, you might as well get a parking space from the town board. I mean, 5 minutes, get in and out, but we can't have you cone it off for the day or to go in and out. So I probably a little bit of an offline discussion I can have with you we give and take with you, as you well know, but we are not giving carte blanche, and it's not something that we can support.
Okay.
Otherwise the town board would designate a space, and they're not doing that.
Okay. I mean, we just use traffic cones to prevent us getting hit by vehicles passing by.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you blocking a space so that you could leave and come back at will. That's in essence reserving a space, what the town board just denied. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about safety cones. I'm talking about blocking a space so that you can come and go at your own will.
Okay. All right.
And I'm just being straight with it. I'm going by what the town board approves, right? So this is what they're allowing you to run your business on the beach. We're going to designate a nice spot, stay within those boundaries, but there's no carte blanche on the use of cones to designate a space. You might as well get a parking spot from them like you've talked about, which they've denied already.
All
Okay.
right. So with those conditions, we're good with this application?
Yes.
All right. Matt will reach out to set up a time to meet with you, to meet at the site and kind of go over layout and where, what your zone will be. All right?
That would be great.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, I'm going to go down to the outdoor assembly application for the Mananic Yacht Club. You've been so patient. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
I know. So thank you so much for your patience.
I'm Elizabeth Shepstone. I'm the treasurer of Mananic, and I've been an active member sailing there since the 60s. So, and just as a brief historical thing, Mananic was started in 1933 by some of the original Shelter Island big names, including Dickerson, Payne, Carlson, Gibbs, Sherman, Tuttle, and Dalton were all some of the original members that incorporated it back in 1933. It's been active other than about 10 years in the late 50s and 60s, and my father, Pete Bethke, brought it back. And now we are bigger and better than ever. We have more sunfish than ever, and we're an all-volunteer club. We have potlucks type thing. We have no facilities. So we're just asking to run a regatta, which we've run several in the past. The earliest ones were in the 40s and the 50s. Mananic ran some in conjunction with Shelter Island and some on their own. Interestingly, in the 60s and 70s, the Chamber of Commerce sponsored several regattas off Shell Beach. That was the base, and had very successful regattas with 70 people picnicking. The next big regatta was in 2016, where we ran the Women's Sunfish North Americans. We had boats from all over the country. At that point, it was the largest women's regatta in sunfish. Very successful. It was 3 days. We housed everybody. We used Goat Hill for our dinner Saturday night, brought a lot of people in. And so now we have been requested to hold a world qualifier, which is part of the New York Downstate Regatta. Just 2 days, very simple. Just want to use Wade's Beach for sailing off of and for parking.
Okay. So the comments that we did get from the Bay Constable is that you probably need a Coast Guard marine event permit.
Which we had previously, we had that for the 2016 regatta. We didn't want to apply to the Coast Guard and bother them until we got your approval.
Right. And then the other big question I know that you had as part of the application was, could we waive the parking at Wade's Beach for that day for the?
Right, and the issue we were with there, the Sunfish class basically has to approve the regatta, and they have to approve the entrance fee. The entrance fee that we're normally given is $100 per entrance. If we have to pay $50 of that $100, or ask the Sunfish sailors, whom are a notoriously cheap group, to come up with that, it would significantly impact the participation. So we've scheduled it, our request is 2 weeks after Labor Day, so we wouldn't interfere with anybody, with that many people going to Wade's Beach. And we're hoping that you can either waive it or give us a nominal one, which we can build into
How many people do you expect to show up for this?
the boat. We're expecting probably 40 participants, but of that 40 participant, Mananic is going to be very well represented, so probably 15 to 20 are people that are already on the island and already store their boats, mostly at North Silver Beach Landing. Some already store them at Wade's. So I think we're probably looking at maybe 25 off-island people, so we'd be looking at, those people would have to park their cars there and leave their dollies there. The other people are already, our boats are at the landings. So I think realistically, the only caveat I'll give is that everybody loves to sail here. And so, we may have some more people, but I would guess as far as off-islanders requiring the parking and stuff, we're looking at 25, maybe 30.
Okay. Yeah.
Is this?
I was just gonna say, our last day that we even require a parking pass is
It's 2 days later.
It's like the day after the event.
Right.
So that's something that I thought we could kind of take into account.
Is this different or in place of, because don't you do an annual round the island race?
That's different. That's actually run out of Southold Yacht Club.
Oh, yeah, it's like.
Yeah, we help with them sometimes. We provide a lot of safety boats for them, but that's run out of Southold Yacht Club.
So this racing that you do on that weekend is just in the harbor?
Well, for this regatta, for our normal Mananic racing, we almost always race in the harbor.
Right.
Sometimes this year we're gonna go out a little bit because people want some practice. This regatta most likely will be held outside of the harbor, because we need a little bit more distance, more boats, and it's a world qualifier. We really have to have kind of longer, more challenging course. We'd only be in the harbor if it was like blowing a lot and we need to sail a more protected place.
Right.
But the plan is to sail outside of the harbor.
Is West Sac Harbor big enough for 40?
Pardon me?
Is West Sac Harbor big enough for a regatta?
We had
for
40 boats in the Women's North Americans, and it depends on the wind direction. Unfortunately, the women's, it was blowing across the harbor, which is really small, and so we had to run like multiple laps. So that's one of the reasons we're moving it out, because we need to stretch the course out. So under almost all conditions, we'll be sailing outside the harbor.
Do the Bay Constables participate in helping make sure everything is, the safety is there?
They know about it, and we've always communicated well with them. Like I said, we have to get the Coast Guard permit, which is just basically telling them where and when,
Right.
and alerting them to the fact. And the Bay Constable's great. He's usually there Sunday, kind of tootling along anyway, just to make sure that we don't interfere and other boats don't interfere with us, or provide aid if needed. So we're in pretty good communication with them.
Yeah, we can't use town resources for this, but we also, don't want anybody to get hurt. So-
Yeah.
Right, and Mananic, I mean, even now, for our regular racing, we have 2 safety boats. Always, we have a rib safety boat with swimmers on it. For this regatta, we'd have more, because we'd have more boats.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so for other events where we did, like the Around the Island paddleboard and kayak race and stuff, then you have Coast Guard, the Bay Constables help monitor, that's a much bigger kind of event. This is in a designated area.
This isn't
so-
that much bigger than we do every week. I mean, we've been averaging 25 boats on our weekly
Wow.
sailing now. So last year we had 54 different participants in it. We averaged, I think, 24, 25 boats a week. We've had up to 30, and that's inside the harbor. So this will be outside, so it won't interfere with the people that are moored, although it's 2 weeks after Labor Day, obviously, the mooring people.
Will you, should you get with the Bay Constable and go over where you're gonna set
Oh,
up the
absolutely.
course?
Yeah.
I mean, because there is boat traffic going
Yeah,
in.
no, we'd have to be obviously away from the cans and
channel.
stuff around the corner. Yeah, we'd have to go around the corner more, not towards the South Ferry because frankly, the current in the rock is
Right.
pretty wicked over there. So we're gonna take a right around the corner and go out there. We also don't wanna go too deep, just because our anchor lines, our mooring lines, we don't have 50-foot mooring lines. So, yeah, it will be in a safe position. We'll absolutely coordinate with them.
Okay.
All right. So I guess the real questions that you need answers from us is what are we gonna do with the parking? Because that will impact whether or not it's financially feasible for you guys to do the race. And then just what conditions we feel are necessary to put on the race, like having to get the Coast Guard permit, things of that nature.
I
Your
personally,
insurance, and I did give you a copy of the insurance.
Yes, I have the insurance. I think I even saw a signature. So and we did get an operational plan. It was sent to the Bay Constable so they could see what the plan was. So what do you feel about parking?
sure.
Do we want to waive the parking?
Absolutely.
And you just have to put a
We would-
sign
we
in your
would-
windshield?
We would print out with their registration packet when they come. They have to come and check in, and then they would get a registration packet, and with that, we would put a pre-printed parking thing for them to put in. And we're open, you can tell us which end, you know, you want us to park at. We wouldn't take the spot right next to the beach.
Yeah, we'd probably say in the back,
That's
by the
fine.
lawn, by the grass.
Absolutely, yeah.
How many days?
Saturday, Sunday.
Is Star still there at that time? I didn't see their end date.
But that was one of the things actually listening when you were talking about the STARS application.
That would be
I put that in my
helpful for
mind
Laura.
To say, oh, maybe we could get them to come
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday
Yeah.
morning for breakfast,
Yeah.
would be perfect.
Yes, I actually do think that they're still, I'm looking for their start dates. I have them in here.
You guys don't have a problem with waiving the parking, lot, right?
Yeah,
The
no,
day before the parking over.
Expires, yeah. the second
Doesn't matter.
part.
So should we stage them on the west end of the beach? Toward the west end rather than the east? I don't,
You mean the south end?
We figured over by the grass, not over by, right by the bathrooms and stuff,
Yeah.
and we would not
Other end.
be in the way as much. So we figured, yes, over towards the grass end
Right.
and not right on the beach so that the local people would.
The kayak racks, you know the kayak?
Yes.
racks? Over by those kayak
Right,
racks.
exactly, over there.
This is
Where are you
Bob.
doing your banquet dinner?
We haven't figured that we're not doing anything till we get you guys to say go.
wait a minute, you're saying by the kayak racks?
Yeah.
The stage, the boats?
Well, the boats
No,
will be on the
they'll
beach.
they'll
We're
park
just
the
talking,
cars.
that they park the cars. And they'll have like little dollies that they launch them from. So we just need somewhere to put the dollies and their parked cars. So we can park that wherever you want us to.
How much room is there on that side of the beach for dollies and whatnot? I mean,
The
there's a
dollies
fence
back.
there by the town landing that goes out.
We can also put them in the back, towards the back of it too. It's,
What do they do with it, when you have 45 boats? So they just use a dolly, drop it in the
everybody comes
water?
with their own dollies.
And then they,
You
do
roll
they,
them in and then someone pulls them back up and we put them wherever you want.
Yeah, so there's,
it's on a dolly.
Silly.
yeah, if I could share my screen, I'll show you what we have to work with. Here's Wade's Beach.
Yep.
Oops, sorry, people don't want to make you dizzy.
Too late.
I know, my bad.
So I was suggesting over there, but
So,
because
I
Stars
mean,
Cafe's truck is what, up there when it's there.
Right, but we also have all of this space back here, all of this grass area where they could
We could put the
store
dollies
all the
up there.
dollies.
Yeah.
So they're out of the road, there's no chance of anybody
Yeah.
running them
We
over,
would like
there's,
that because they're, like I said, they're out of the way. So we like that,
Absolutely.
because we want people to run into them.
so that would
And for the most
probably.
part, it's only 25 cars, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, again,
Yeah.
we haven't advertised it, but a large, I'm expecting probably at least 15 boats from Shelter Island, our fleet, and those boats are already, some either already have their stickers for Wade's, or else they're stickered at North Silver Beach or South Silver Beach, so they're not gonna have cars there.
Right.
So it's really, it's the off-island people that are coming.
The only question I have about waiving the parking completely is it an unconstitutional gift since anybody else who comes would have to pay?
I mean, if you could give us a
So,
nominal fee,
$5 for
$5,
parking?
that'd be great.
And then that way, we don't run into that
fine.
sticky wicket that tends to come back every once in a while.
That'd be wonderful for us.
That's
yeah.
okay, all right.
They just don't ticket any of the cars in the parking lot that week now. Just talk to the chief about that.
Yeah,
It's thinking of the budget.
well, I'm just thinking,
$5 is the valve.
Yeah.
you know,
This is a club that doesn't even take due, I mean, we just kind of went back to dues a little bit, I mean, it's all volunteer, so.
Chief, Ken, I see you popped up. You have any?
Yeah, I was basically just gonna follow up what you had said, Meg, or before you had said it, really. I think that back section is the best area to park those dollies. You also have there's also about 15 or 16 parking spots on the back end of that parking lot that butt up to that open area, which used to be where the volleyball court used to be years ago. So that could be even an area that you could designate for the whole operation for any of the people that are coming that aren't permitted. They could park along that outer barrier, and they could also park their dollies over there too. There's also more there's room for those dollies also on the same side where the kayak racks are. There's still about a 8 or 10 foot wide area that we sort of open up every year, clean out the bamboo that pops up over the winter and spring. There's plenty of spots for them to put it, but that just might be a one-stop shop for everybody to have those further away parking spaces and then have a spot to put the dollies on the open grass back there.
Okay, Chief, you got your hand up?
Yeah, just to clean it up a little bit, maybe we have this group make a nominal fee, whatever the town board decides, to the town clerk. The town clerk would then issue a 2-day pass that they would put on the dashboard of their car. So when we make our rounds through there, and then there's no issues, they can park wherever they see fit. They're approved for that day.
I like that, that's very clean, thanks, Chief. So we'll do something like that.
Great, so now I can contact Coast Guard?
Yes.
Hi, this is
Yes.
Bob Harris. I'm Commodore of the club. Hi, everybody. I have just one question. Thanks, Melissa. Will the bathrooms be available for that weekend?
They're still open then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be open. They won't be closed.
Yes, the bathrooms are still open.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that it?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Danny thanks you, and hopefully if you want to come out someday and help on a race committee or a rescue boat, we'd be happy to have you.
That's good, thank you.
Thank you.
Meg, are you going to set that fee now?
Yes,
September 15th?
September 13th and 14th. All right, so nominal fee for parking. If they're thinking 25 cars, $25, or
Sure.
what, are you,
Yeah.
you know,
25, you mean 25?
$1 a car.
$1 a car for the parking. And then we give them a permit to park there for 2 days. Or do you feel like it should be more?
No. Give it to them for free if we could.
I know, but it's a gift, we can't,
I know.
we gotta follow all the
I
rules.
think 25 is fine.
What do you think?
I think $5. It's nominal. Anyway, it's nominal, means nothing.
What do you think?
$1 car.
$5. A dollar's kind of,
You want $5 a car?
Well, somebody's got to get to issue the permits and we got to,
Yes.
$5. It
I
doesn't
thought you
mean,
were saying $5 in total.
no,
You
no,
want
no.
$5 a car?
Yeah.
Oh.
See, this is why I'm asking clarifying questions. And so they're,
You get 20, it's $100.
$125.
yeah, okay. All right, so $100?
Okay.
All right,
Sure.
so $100 for the
The chief
parking.
has to, he's got to go, whatever, it's enough, it's plenty.
Chief, what were you gonna say?
I mean, look, we have past practice of charging groups of similar nature the standard fee for the day, which is
Right.
$25 per car, which is to me, regardless, I get it. But that trip around the island, that group, there's plenty of local people involved with that park for free. Those who come off the island pay the going rate. They can do it on the app, and then there's nothing to do. I mean, I personally don't think that that's too much to ask for this group, for those who come from off the island, to pay the standard fee, and the whole thing's done in the application, and we don't have to do anything. That would be my recommendation.
I think $100 for whatever cars come is fine. And half of that group are local residents.
Right,
They get a Sylvanir permit too, from Shelter Island.
The local residents have parking.
right, all the local residents will have stickers.
Yeah.
She was estimating 20 to 25 cars who would be coming from off island, or have them just pay to park.
I can name off at least 10 people who are members of the yacht club, who are members of this group, who are going to be there.
Right, I mean, it's really just whoever's coming from off island would have to pay to park for the weekend.
That's it.
So do we want to do the nominal fee and then let them print their own window shield parkings, or do we want to just have them use the online parking and
I
get?
don't know, how does the chief do, how does the chief do this when he's done these events? Does he issue the permit,
No,
issue
no,
something?
they just go online, they use the app.
Oh, okay.
And they buy parking.
Fine.
So then they just use the standard parking rate, so we're not going to give them a parking discount.
So it's $5 a car for the weekend.
No, it's more than that. If you're using the online parking.
It's $25 per car per day.
Right.
Oh, that's too much.
No, we're not talking about $25, we're talking about $5 a car.
Oh, no, so we're having two different conversations.
Yeah.
So when we've done it in the past, they've just paid $25 per car per day through the app like anybody else who was coming to use the beach. The idea of a reduced parking rate is something that they would not be able to do through the app. So we would set that up in advance. They'd pay the town clerk and she would give them permission to print however many passes for the windshields. And then the officers who go around and check parking would just know that those people have already paid a fee at the clerk's office, and that's how we're handling it. So do we want to do the online $25 a day, or do we want to set a fee and give them passes for the weekend?
Online, $25 a car, no.
Okay,
Fee, call it $100 and let them print whatever passes they want.
yes? Yes,
Yeah, that'll work.
okay, so that's the way we'll do it. We'll give them the $100 fee and we'll set that up with the clerk's office and they'll put passes in their windshields. Got it, chief? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, that's done.
Yay.
Yay, all right. Now, wetlands, we have Ludeman,
Okay.
going backwards now. So the one thing that we were waiting on was the structural report for the foundation, but we did receive that. So now it's just, what conditions do we want to put on the application?
This came from.
What was the ZBA's determination?
Yeah, it came from-
I believe they approved it. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, with recommendations, concerns.
I think it was just that the foundation was certified by an engineer. So the report that we got,
It can support the new structure they're gonna build on top of it.
correct. That was a condition that we had discussed as well. So, you know, we were kind of sharing the same brain with that one.
I don't have that report in front of me, but I remember there being a little gray part there that he included that, you know, there will be, or there could be some minor restoration there. Okay,
And the foundation.
the foundation.
Yeah, just if they were to come across something, but they don't anticipate it. The ZBA approved it with no conditions. They approved it as it was submitted.
Let's hope that it's firm and solid and you don't have to take out and replace a whole wall section.
Right.
Because that would be not my idea of renovation, to take a whole wall assembly out.
A condition that we've put on in the past is that if it turns out that that foundation is not suitable, they can't use it, and they have to get rid of the foundation, then they have to come back for a revised permit, because at that point, we could make them move to a conforming location.
Correct.
So that's happened in the past in other applications.
That's good, but we have to put a trigger on it, if that's replaced more than 15% of the.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I was driving at.
Okay. So what?
And I just made that number up.
I know, that's why I'm like, so what percentage would you like? You know,
25%, I don't know.
I figure 50% is enough that you would have to redo an entire foundation.
Yeah.
You know, if you have to replace 50% of what's there, then you need a new foundation.
So maybe 25% and then come back and talk to us?
Leave it at 25%. Yeah, that works.
All right. Were there any other concerns or comments, conditions that you had? I think the foundation was the big one, but
I'm still hung up on the drawings. I don't know who was the engineer or.
Who was the engineer? Matt Sherman?
yeah, but he's not the architect.
I don't know.
Reshackle Construction.
Let me.
Is it the perspective that you're having trouble with, like where it bumps out and where it's set back because
Yeah,
it's a straight on view?
It's an open porch. Why is there sliders installed?
Because the sliders aren't on the porch, they're in the back wall. So if you look at it from.
But if you look at the side elevation, look at the left side elevation,
Which, yeah.
Take a look at this.
Left side.
elevation. See the Bilco basement door? Toward the water side.
Am I looking at the same one? Are you looking at this one? Yeah. Because I don't see a Bilco. Is that the Bilco?
This is the Bilco door in the existing column. That's the end of the house right here. And then this is deck. Now, why would you put a slider if you're having an open porch?
Because that bumps in. That's.
This is the face of the house, running straight down. This is deck. Why would you put a slider?
Because
on
there's
an open porch?
an indent. So, here, let's.
Stranger things.
And but they're saying these are decks. They're going to be replaced, the decking,
Right. This
with an
one
overhead porch.
and
But
this
why
one.
would you put a slider at the end?
So here's the garage. So it's this slider here, because you're looking from this angle. Right?
It looks like it's flush. I don't know.
Or am I on
Yeah.
the other side?
I don't know.
Oh, here's the Bilco.
Yeah, here's the
So-
Bilco, and this
so-
door is the end. This point. So there's, if you look
Right.
from the
So
Bilco,
here's the garage. I'm trying to orient. Here we go. Now I can do this at the same time. So we're looking at it like this, right? Because here's the garage. but that doesn't make sense, because, no, we're looking at it like this,
Yes.
right, because the garage, you're gonna pull in this way.
Yeah, it's,
So-
we're looking at this side. No,
Right,
yeah, we're
so,
looking at this side. I guess my
Yes.
concern, I want to make sure that they're not creating
This is the front view, that's the
conditions
back.
for foot space. That's all.
you know, I don't think they are, that I think is set back.
I mean, the engineer, whoever it was, explained that they're not, but I just want to, I would want to be sure of that, that's all.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know why you put a slider at the end of them.
It's a very awkward drawing.
Yeah,
It's,
it is.
yeah.
It's what it is.
So where are we? Where do we end up?
Confused, no. Yeah, I don't, it's, because it's not enclosed, it's just, let's see if there's, I'm just trying to see if there's a better diagram. But yeah, you just want to ensure that it's not a closed, like an enclosed room,
Right, and it's not being
conditioned and finished.
conditioned space, that's all, that it is truly that the decks are being replaced.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be an
Why don't you just specify that the porch area is not conditioned?
Yeah, no, that's, whatever, however to word it, that's all.
Okay,
It's a different picture.
yeah.
But right, I think that's correct. I don't think this is actually for this house. I think this is a wrong picture.
Okay.
It's inverted there. That's from the other side.
Yeah.
And that makes sense from the other side because of the way, like that has a bump. So I think it's just,
Okay.
that's funky drawing. It's a little weird, but I think
Just in the
I
front.
understand exactly what you're saying, and we'll just write that in, that
Just right in
they
front
can't
of it.
be fully enclosed
Yeah,
conditioned
right in
space.
front
Yeah.
of it.
It's not very clear.
Yes.
It's interpretive.
Good catch, Albert.
Yes.
Dry wells for the pool and the relocated shower, I don't know if they've been incorporated in the latest drawings. Just want to be sure. And partially, this property is located in the FEMA flood zone. So I would ask for it. And there's the potential for a lot of washout if you look at the properties on either side. I would like to see a 20-foot vegetative buffer for this property.
Let's see, what,
So,
And that the fence be relocated up on the landward side of the buffer.
just looking to see what Teresa recommended.
yeah, look at the survey. On the north side, there's room for that, but on the south side.
Yeah, it gets really tight. I don't know that there's even 20 feet from the top of the bulkhead, like the stone, bulkhead. Yeah, she's saying expand the buffer to 15 feet of the wetlands.
I'm even suggesting 20 because it is partially in the FEMA flood zone.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that there's
yeah, I'm
20
not
feet
sure there's 20
between. Find a good map with measurements.
He also has to relocate the fencing on the, the landward side of the buffer.
The pool that's there, is there any work going on in it?
No.
No, that's gonna stay as is. Let's see.
We didn't see it, there was no buffer plan submitted, was there? That I saw, I didn't see.
No, I didn't see one.
I think we should see one and get it approved.
Well, can we just put it in the permit?
What?
15, or can we just put in the permit 15 or 20 feet?
Well, she's calling for it. Isn't she calling for it? I thought she
She's
called
calling
for
for
it.
15 feet, but Albert's asking.
I was just saying,
Yeah.
the property's within the FEMA flood zone partially, that's all, that, I don't. You put it in a 20-foot buffer.
I'm okay with the buffer, but to ask them to redo this and show the buffer, it's a delay.
No, it's just a separate plan, just a separate plan sheet.
We also usually put in the condition that should upon inspection, it be deemed that the buffer that they've done is insufficient, that she can request additional buffer, like additional plantings in order to make the buffer more robust.
Okay, whatever.
So we leave that condition in there, so then it's kind of up to her professional.
So the question, do we want a 15 or a 20?
Let's see.
It's interesting. I'm looking at Teresa's report. She's basically saying the existing disturbed portions of the required buffer shall be restored to native vegetation. She's not, it's interesting, she's not spelling out anything here. I'm
It
just,
says on the bottom of page 2 that the buffer needs to be expanded to cover those portions of the parcel within 15 feet of the
There we go.
wetlands at minimum.
I see it right
So
here.
that's where I got the 15 feet from.
Okay.
20 feet kind of puts the buffer right at the edge of the swimming pool, which get kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
Yeah, because when I scale it and I kind of map it, it puts it like right at the corner. It gets tight there. It's a funky shaped property. All right, so we'll do the buffer with, can we do 15 feet buffer? Is that?
15.
I think it's okay.
Maggie,
I don't
did
think there's
you
20
visit the
feet.
site? Meg, did you?
I have
It
visited.
is interesting because you can see you could never build a pool like that again.
No.
You can see the fill that's there.
Yeah.
Really pretty interesting.
There's a lot of things
Higgins-
in this island that exist that you could never build again.
I would like to see a plan for the buffer, just a separate buffer plan. For approval.
That's just conditional.
Yeah,
Meaning it's
Yeah,
not
just submit it before you.
submitted, right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's all. Get it approved by the town board.
That won't cause any delay, so it's
No,
fine.
There's no delay.
I still want to delay it anymore.
Yeah, this has been dragging out for forever. I think. Okay. The dry well, let me see. Sanitary plan is usually what is on that. It's gonna be very hard to fit. So there are already dry wells included on the plan, on the sanitary plan. The issue with 2 of them is that they're not behind the 75-foot line because of the shape and the, frontage of the property. It really kicks back in the one corner. So it's going to be hard to get all the stormwater rerouted to the back of the building to pipe it into a dry well. So either we allow a dry well off the corner of the front deck where they'll be working,
Yep.
or
Talking the north side. Or the south side.
yeah, south side.
South side. Yeah, they're 2.
Yeah, so, these 2, it's gonna be hard to get all the water from the front rerouted all the way around to the back, or at the back corner up top. If you slide
Got
down,
it.
there's 2 more here.
That is a very low point there. It
It's
is
gonna-
like a,
Yeah, it'll be hard, I think, to reroute to the back of the house. So if we wanted to allow that, the storm water dry wells right off the corner of the deck, so they can,
It's better than not having them, and you probably have to pump it. I mean, it's,
What do you mean pumping?
well, I don't think you should reroute it realistically.
it's gonna be hard to route the gutters from the front of the building all the way around to the back of the building into the dry well, I think. Especially from that southeast corner.
Well, they did a good job trying to move it from on the north side there.
Mhm.
They got them out.
Yeah,
I mean, they made an attempt to get it straightened out. I mean,
they did. They did. I think it's just, and they tried to do it for the ones in the back on the south side. They got those outside of the 100-foot. I think it's just gonna get really tricky with the ones in the front corner. I don't see a place where you can move them that they'll be outside of that 75-foot. I mean, I'm kind of okay with them the way they are, because
I'm
it'll
okay with-
prevent the runoff
Yeah,
going into the bay if we can capture it.
it's better than not having them, so, and it's really not easy to do. I mean, I'm okay with as shown.
As shown. Are there any other conditions, ideas, thoughts that we should put into the resolution?
Got all of Teresa Mason's concerns and
Yeah. Silk fence, all the regulars.
stuff.
Yep. Planning board had
you know, Albert, that area that you are struggling with is, if you look at the floor plan on, I don't know what map this is, okay, it really is clearly, that is basically, it's the visual looking at the deck that's throwing us all off, because it's really just picking, it shows like a flat plane, but it's not.
Right, you're not getting the depth.
You're not getting the depth. There's no sidewalk. When you look at the plan, I can see now it's basically just a deck.
Yeah. Yep.
The only other thing I see that Teresa Mason said was to put the fence up on the landward side of the buffer.
Right.
Yeah. Are there any others? I think we have.
Good.
So we'll put together a draft resolution with this, recommendations. And then that one's done, that's done. Okay, SECR and other professional fees is not ready. I went through, Steve is working on incorporating it into the different sections of code that it needs to go into. So the sections of code are dock code, the chapter 6 secret code, the site plan review, the subdivisions, wetlands, and the zoning. Steve, you got anything? I see the camera on.
I do want to point out one thing. It's going to be, having written this now, it will be an easy matter to insert it into the various chapters where it belongs. But I sort of exercise my own judgment in 64-5B, in which I said that if the initial deposit is reduced by 75%, it will be restored to 50% of the original amount. It just seemed like a rational way of approaching that.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Yep.
But other than that, I think this pretty much accomplishes what the board wanted. And so by next week's meeting, I hope to have the a local law, inserting it in the individual chapters where it belongs.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. And then that's all I have on the agenda. Board member reports?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, we have interviews, so we'll go into executive session
What time do they start?
3:30, but I don't see the applicant on.
Okay. I do have one thing that I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
Okay, which has to deal with the, this happened at the Capital Grants Committee, with that $1.25 million grant for wastewater. Okay, we've had that for a long time. It's been approved, and if we need to move forward with it, okay? I would like the board to move forward with using that grant money and putting something together where we can allocate that money to start with the center in terms of IA systems, okay?
For the municipal buildings.
Yes, for the municipal buildings.
For municipal.
Right, basically, this municipal buildings here. I guess, listening to it, I'm concerned we're gonna lose that money by not doing anything with it.
Project going.
Okay, and I think if we get a project going, and then later on, we can then, Joe Fenora can deal with the EPA in terms of whether or not we can, we got to slide, we're approved for wastewater. So the other thing we can do is if there's money left over here, we can at least apply some of that for looking at the water, the safety mandates here in the town buildings. But I think the first piece is really to get the IA pieces done.
My understanding of the grant was that it could be used for one or the other.
I understand, I
And
know
there's no
that,
like
that's.
leftover that can be applied to something else.
No, what the conversation this morning was that, yes, we should make a decision. We're neither fish nor fowl, so I think if we should use the money and make the application the way it was intended, which is for wastewater. Okay, but in the interim, okay, he can also deal with the EPA to see if that grant can be modified in any way. But we don't want to disturb what the money is for. Like, we don't want to change the way the money was allocated and create another whole burdensome thing. So I just would like to get the board to move on with this and give them some direction, give Joe some direction in terms of moving this grant forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he said that the Justice Court and the police department were kind of an easy lift to set up and start working on. I don't know where he is on that, but we can certainly find out. But I think we should start, I agree. We should start those two buildings.
It is long overdue.
Well, we need a plan, and we want to make sure we're making the most of the $1.25 million. I don't know that the two IA systems will come close to using.
It's not the two IA systems, it would be in the center, it would be, Joe Fenora wants some clarification from the board that we're okay moving forward with using it for IAs. Okay, that's really what they're looking at, that's what he's looking for. And again, he presented the other equation, he hasn't done anything because he doesn't know where we are, we're fish or fowl. Okay, and I'm just saying, since it's approved and it's such a long time has gone by, and let's not lose that $1.25 million. And let's get the thing moving towards the IA system. I think that has to be done, okay? And I think the next step is for the board really to approve that direction.
I agree with you.
We could put this on the agenda or something for next week
Yeah, I
or
was just
whatever.
saying, we'll set this as another agenda item because there's more that has to go into it in order to make it viable. than just saying we're gonna use it for IA systems. We need the plan for how we're gonna do that.
Right.
So, okay. All right, so.
But I
put that
think
on
to
the
your
agenda.
point, Joe said, the town has to make, the board has to make a decision, and then I can start to
Yes.
work on it.
Yeah, there's some little pieces here, but he's neither here. We're not making any decision. We're sitting by basically with the base, where we have a risk of losing the grant. That's the point I'm saying. If we don't use it, we lose it.
Right, but we also need to make sure that we're using it in a meaningful way, like that we're not gonna use it on a project that then is going to end up being in
Well,
conflict.
we
with-
won't know that until we can move it forward. I think what you're asking is correct, okay? And
Need to
I
sit
think
down
that
and
will
come
come
up with a
forward,
plan.
but we need to make some direction as to where we are. Are we holding out for water, okay, or are we gonna use it for septics, okay? And I think since it's set up for septics right now, I think we know we have a clear route for it, it's been approved for septic, so I'm looking for the board to move forward with it, and then, he's got some homework to do, and you gotta,
I know, so we'll set that as an agenda item. All right, anything else before we go into?
The only other thing is, I sent that email yesterday with the 7 old items that I want to at least open for conversation again. The main one for me, obviously, is new construction house size limitation.
Mhm.
I'd like to see that back on the table. And there are a whole bunch of other ones, but here.
Yeah, so, the comp plan was on the list as, top 5 things to work on. The facility needs assessment, house size, those were all on the list of things. The tree preservation, the historic preservation weren't on our priority list when we went and ranked everything. Those were
That's
kind of
true.
new additions.
They came
So,
in after, but
yeah,
they're super
so-
important and not, I mean, I put them on my list because they were pretty much packaged up and almost ready to go.
Well, the historic,
The historic
Yeah.
preservation, they even wrote the legislation.
yeah. All right, so we'll put those on the agenda too. Okay. All right. So we should probably go into executive session for interviews.
Okay.
Does anyone else have around the table? Okay. I make a motion that we go into executive session for town attorney interviews and some,
I
committee
second it.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.